Salute to all the real ones out there. It's your boy Mike coming at you again with another video. Okay, so if you guys like the direction that my channel is headed in, you've seen some of my other content, you want to support me, like, comment, subscribe, and share the videos with anybody you think may benefit from them. Like I said in all my other ones, I'm trying to build a community over here where like-minded males can come through, hear some good content from me, and overall become better versions of themselves. You know, if I can inspire even just one of y'all to change your life or start being just a better version of yourself, then I've succeeded. You know, and I'm happy to do that. I'm trying to lead by example, so that's neither here nor there. But today's topic is going to be the Misandry Bubble summary. Okay, so if you guys ever heard of a website called the Futurist, which I'm going to have the link to the PDF of the Misandry Bubble in the description box below. The Futurist basically has a bunch of publications from people who talk about heavy-hitting topics, you know. And the Misandry Bubble was written by a guy named Imran Khan. Imran Khan. Okay, so he's an Indian American who is a political blogger, and he basically wrote this article back in 2010, and he wanted the people who read it to revisit it back in 2020 to see if his predictions came off true. So it starts off, like the article itself, it starts off with a profound Shakespeare quote, which says, "We know what we are, but we know not what we may become." Okay, so an executive summary is what I'm about to break down, but I mean, I think it's bone chilling how accurate his assessment was of what would happen in Western culture. Okay, so this is something that came out 2010, and he said, come back in 2020, reread my article, and see if what I said came true or not. So he breaks down everything by saying, the Western world undervalues men and overvalues women. The state forcibly transfers resources from men to women, which incentivizes good women to conduct evils against men and children. This creates an environment where male nature is vilified and female nature is celebrated. This unfair arrangement will lead to rapid civilizational decline, predicted to be widespread and obvious by year 2020. So I mean, without even really jumping into the topic, just from hearing the executive summary, isn't he right? Look around in your society. See how many people are just getting divorce raped. Like, think of Dr. Dre. You know, been with his wife for how many years? Got a healthy family, you know, all the money and power and status that a woman could ever want from one individual male. She's getting a divorce, and look at how they're going to transfer all his wealth straight over to her, just on the strength of the fact that she's a woman and she was married to him and he was a high-value male. Do you guys really find that fair? For somebody to just get so much, like a ridiculous amount of money, and then it's under the guise of, oh, child support, or she's used to that lifestyle when she was with him, now she's not with him, and laws support him paying for an ex-wife for a long period of time at that, and he might even wind up losing more than half of his overall wealth. Do you guys find that to be fair? You know, so already when you just think of that example I just named, Mr. Khan's prediction was right. So let's jump right into some of the stuff he talks about. Now it's about I want to say like a 13 to 14 page article, and what I did is I just grabbed some of the key points that he highlighted in the very beginning of the article. You know, there's really a lot more that you should read, and I would challenge all of you to visit the Futurist and check out his full article that he uploaded in 2010. I'm just going to talk about a few of the points. All right, so he has a cultural thesis that breaks down the key issues into detailed categories. So I think I have 3 categories listed here, and there's much more, but let's get into it. So the first point that he makes is the myth of female oppression. This is the indoctrination of belief that women have been oppressed throughout human existence, which is a fabrication. The fact is that men die on battlefields, at sea, and even in mines, while women, for the most part, were indoors tending to children and household duties. The male life expectancy was, always, and still is significantly lower than that of women's life expectancy. And this is across races, all right? The narrative stem from feminists comparing the plight of average women to the topmost men. So think about it. This is really some heavy hidden information right here, okay? And the narrative that feminists use whenever they come up with stuff like the gender pay gap or whatever other issues that they want to lump in to make it seem like women are oppressed by men. When they always take like the highest men as their example, this is called the Apex Fallacy. All right, so the UrbanDictionary.com website defines Apex Fallacy as the assumption that because very few members of a group are powerful, therefore the rest of them must necessarily share that power too. So an example of the Apex Fallacy would be men are the 93% of the top 500 richest CEOs. That's a fact. But the fallacy will come in as women assume or feminists assume that men in general are privileged. So you're going to look at the top CEOs of all these big major companies and then you automatically say that all men are privileged based on that one fact. But that's bogus, right? And the reason why is because you can't resource the top outliers to create an overall conclusion of the entire male population. That's an apex fallacy, right? Because you're not even accounting for the fact that men are the majority of people who are unemployed. And even when you look at the homeless population, that's 80% men. You see? But feminists, they don't even care about these facts. They just skew whatever argument, skew all their statistics to make it seem like women are always oppressed and underneath men, and men have everything locked in box where women can't progress, and that's just totally false. Another thing that he points out in his cultural thesis, he talks about the masculinity vacuum in entertainment. So, like if you look at like 70s, 80s, and even early 90s TV, film, and the entertainment industry, you had a bunch of inspirational, exemplary, rugged, strong, diverse, and male archetypes. Think of like Hulk Hogan, Mr. T, MacGyver, Captain Kirk on Star Trek, Indiana Jones, and there's countless other examples, right? Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee. Those type of characters are all absent in today's media, and they're replaced by degenerates. So for the most part, the dudes that you see who exemplify alpha behaviors like the ones that I just named from previous generations, they're usually going to be thugs, criminals, murderers, and or effeminate or homosexual characters. So think about what that does to the psyche of the normal man who's looking for, let's say, a role model through the TV to look up to. There aren't really too many. Why is that? You have to think about that. Why is that? What changed from that time to this time? Is there some type of other agenda that we're not aware of that's playing out on males all around the whole world? I would say yes. And this is what the author is calling out. All right, so the third thing he points out in his cultural thesis is called the four sirens, right? So these are four unrelated forces simultaneously combined that entirely distort the balance of civilization built on the biological realities of men and women. So the first one would be easy contraception. So you might wonder, like, how is contraception something that will like destroy civilization? Well, easy contraception is defined as condoms, pills, and abortions. So historically speaking, very few women back in the day had more than a few sexual partners in their life, meaning like not more than 3. Since unwed mothers faced the likelihood of poverty and or social shame. So back in the day, bro, it was really normal for a woman to marry young and to already birth numerous kids by the time she was 25. You know, when her sexual fertility was at its peak. And she would often stay with the husband because she has no incentive to try to break up with him, because first off, men would typically hold the power as far as, since they brought in all the resources. If the woman was to just leave the man, then the government had it set up where the man would keep everything that he had worked hard for, i.e. the resources, i.e. the house. And if children are in that situation, they would stay with the father, which makes sense because he has the resources and the place intact for those children to grow up in a stable environment. Meanwhile, the woman would walk away usually with nothing, and she would be socially shamed because no woman was incentivized to not be married or to be a prostitute, which was usually the end game for any woman who was unmarried or who left their marriage or that never had children. You see what I mean? So if you think about how feminism has kind of tainted easy contraception, what they've done is contraception kind of made an easy way for women to act on their urges of hypergamy. And hypergamy is defined by powermoves.com. You can see the description or the link in the description box below, as the pursuit and or attraction felt for males of higher class, income, or social status. And there's certain phrases that we attribute to hypergamy, such as marrying up, or the 80-20 rule, meaning that 80% of women are typically only focused on the top 20% of men. You know, so if there's 10 if there's 10 guys that walk in, only 20% of them are going to get all of the attention from the women. You know what I'm saying? And there might be a couple that basically 80% of men are just invisible to women. The only 20% are cared. So I explained that wrong. The 80-20 rule is not really the 80-20 rule. It's more like the 20% rule, because if there are 10 men, women will only care about the top 2, and the other 80% are just invisible. That's hypergamy. You know what I mean? That means even the bottom, ugliest female at the bottom is still in her head hoping that she gets the top 2 men, along with all the girls that are even hotter than her on the sexual market place value. So I mean, that might be a little concept that's a little bit hard to wrap around, but just know that women are all pieing for the top men. Another part of it, you have no-fault divorce. So this is asset division and alimony also included in that. So in the past, a woman who wanted to leave her husband had to prove misconduct on his part. But now, a woman can leave a man for no reason, that means no fault, and still receive payment from him for years to come. This incentivizes distribution or destruction because it enables women to transfer the costs of irresponsible behavior onto men and children. So who gets affected the most if a woman, let's say, cheats and the man finds out? It's going to be the man and the children, because the children are going to lose their mom and lose their family structure. And the man is going to lose because he's going to still have to pay that woman probably more than half of his overall wealth. And he has to leave the home, and the woman can stay there and continue banging out the dudes she cheated with. That's crazy right there. Another part of it is female economic freedom. Simply put, like, economic support, financial support was one of the main reasons why women had an incentive to marry back in the day. But this is now just no longer true. It's just no longer true. Women work and graduate and receive degrees at a higher rate than men for the most part. So they don't really need a man, and that's why a lot of them are walking around beating their chest screaming. And then the last part, you have female-centric social engineering. So you have pro-women divorce laws, subsidization of single motherhood, and laws that criminalize violence against women, but disregard the end first. So a woman can literally be trying to stab me to death, and there's probably no chance that she'll go to jail. But let me react and like get that knife out of her hand and just punch her and get her on the ground. They're gonna put me in under the jail. Then you also have sexual harassment laws, which give women all the power in the world to make false allegations, and then they receive no punishment for when it comes out that she lied about it. So if you think about these four sirens that I just named, this gives unprecedented power to women, and women can now pursue careers and be promiscuous, while feminist laws shield them from the consequences of their actions. They can pursue alphas while taking resources from betas without any obligations in return, and they can also abandon their traditional responsibilities that nature, gave onto them, while men are still expected to adhere to theirs. So I would challenge all of you guys to read the Misandry Bubble because it goes much deeper than that. But thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll holler back.